Don't mind the divine light of the gods right here on my green screen. It's just that time of day where they happen to get out of the basement. Nintendo, you've done it again. Oh, Nintendo. Time after time again, after ruining the fun for so many people. First with Dolphin, then with enjoying any sort of Pokemon music, and now with Gary's Mod. What happened this time? How did Gary's Mod managed to piss off the grumpiest company of all time? So if you play Gary's Mod, you do know there's essentially add-ons and mods that you can download that allow you to essentially change your character or have models that are made from Nintendo or Pokemon assets, essentially just taking them from game files and then recoding them, fixing them, and shipping them into Gmod and SFM and a bunch of other places. Nintendo had nothing else to do, just like the geriatrics in the chamber, that's besides the point, and decided to put a cease and desist on Gary's Mod. And at first, this was thought to be illegitimate and essentially just a scare at Gary's Mod, but Gary himself tweeted this earlier, saying this was a legitimate cease and desist, and he will have to continue forward with removing all the content that relates to Nintendo copyrighted material, which I understand. From a legal standpoint, he has to do. But here's the thing. This is fucking Gary's Mod. This isn't like $1 trillion game. This isn't a massive like game anymore. It's a cult classic now. There's a cult fan base that just loves the game as is and enjoys it and makes stupid content with it. But but Nintendo has nothing else to do except pump out shit game titles and knock out other small games that are respectively dying because, again, they have nothing else to do. There are so many better things that Nintendo could be doing to, better themselves and better their titles, because their titles have been absolute suck lately, especially with the disrespect that players have been getting on Pokemon games. Like, it's like they're spitting in your face at this point, being like, oh, Palworld was actually copying us, and then they released like a plastic, like, McDonald's toy of a fucking Pokemon game title. It's disgusting. This is just like the saddest thing to see come out of Nintendo, and it's really made me lose more and more respect for Nintendo, as if I already wasn't, especially the way they've been handling Pokemon. And it came with a bunch of attacks too. Nintendo seems to be going off its rockers, having the Pokemon company sue Palworld for I think it was like copying the IP that Pokemon is and using that to make Palworld. While yes, obviously Palworld is a pretty shameless copy, it is still enough to be called a parody compared to Pokemon. And I'm gonna be honest, even if people who enjoy Pokemon are crying because, oh, Palworld's just a copy, who cares? It's actually fun. It's Breath of the Wild meet like Monster Hunters, meet so many different things, and it's a good game. It's a good title. Even if it is a copy, a good game is a good game, undoubtedly. You can't tell me otherwise. Seeing that they're giving Gmod a cease and desist is just really foul in my case. Like, Gmod is not a super thriving game anymore. It is not super popular anymore. It does have a fan base, absolutely, because I am one of those. Matter of fact, in my case, I am affected by this because I started using SFM to animate certain videos that I have in the works right now, and now I lost all of those models because I can't use them anymore since they've been removed from the workshop. I don't know if I have them downloaded. That means they won't be affected, but going forward, I have to be worried if I decide to use Charizard in one of my fucking videos, because I'm going to get a cease and desist from Nintendo being like, hey, you content creator with less than 300 subscribers on YouTube, yeah, we're going to take your left kidney because you decided to use a 400 polygon Charizard in your video. Thanks, Nintendo. Really, really helping the game industry right now. As if it isn't bad enough, full of toxic microtransaction systems and, people who just don't care about their games anymore. You definitely are the hero of the scenario, and thank you for ruining a absolute classic of a game because they have a couple models in their game that are user-generated, not even developed by the company. And you saw that as the biggest threat to your multi-billion-dollar monopoly even, so good job, Nintendo. And before any Nintendo fanboys start coming at me, being like, "Oh, you just don't like Nintendo because or whatever bullshit you're gonna have to pull out of your ass, right? And you're gonna be pulling for a long time. I know you guys. I grew up on Nintendo. I've seen the rise and fall. I was at the peak of the Wii era, and then the Switch came out, and then after the Switch, which I feel like was the last time Nintendo actually cared, it was just bad from there because they realized everybody was going to eat out of their hands no matter what they put in them. They started putting slightly more bullshit into their hands. The last full title I felt proud of, I could say, was Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom was good. That's because Tears of the Kingdom is its own separate studio. It's not like related to the Nintendo team. It isn't. It's its own team. If you look enough Breath of the Wild and Tears of Kingdom or whatever it is are both separate. Well, they're the same team, but they're separate from Nintendo. So essentially, they just hire this game studio to develop it, and it's a very good game. And Nintendo just takes the credit, be like, "Yeah, we made this." No, you fucking didn't. I feel like I've seen the rise and fall of Nintendo. It went from the absolute smack houses of basically making gaming popular with the NES and accessible to as many households across America and across the entire world. They released the Wii, probably a game-breaking deal of a console. The idea of using your body to play video games is insane. Having like controls that can use your kinetics to essentially control the game is a super cool idea. The Wii U, the idea of having instead of a console have to take up a whole screen. Now it's all in just a handheld. Taking the idea of what they made of the DS, which let's not even get started on how amazing the DS was as an idea. Taking the idea of a Game Boy. In fact, where's mine? I have mine here somewhere. The Game Boy was a genius thing, and then booting it up with the DS and even further 3DS and all this, and people would look at them, oh well, they're just similar renditions. Well, regardless of their similar renditions of each other, we're still unique compared to everything, because everybody was just making a standard console that had to take up a whole screen, and it's just a box and it doesn't feel personal. If I pick up a Switch, I feel like it's an experience because it's not just an Xbox or a PS4 or like a computer. It's in its own experience because it's handheld and you could take it anywhere and you can experience games that don't feel like other games, especially when they're Nintendo exclusives. That's why Nintendo's done so well in the past few years. And the Wii U was an unfortunate circumstance. I think the Wii U deserved more love than it got, honestly. It flopped so hard because they saw the success of the Wii U, decided to churn out hundreds of them expecting the same type of numbers, and it unfortunately flopped. That's the reason why the Switch was so hard to get for like the first 2 years. I got it not so long after launch. I got it on my birthday, I remember. It was so cool booting that thing up for the first time because I'm like, holy shit, it's like a DS but infinitely better. And I felt like after that, when they started realizing, oh, we don't really need to babysit our quality control, everybody's gonna buy our shit regardless, it kind of fell down from there. So seeing that rise and fall of Nintendo kind of sucks because it's quite literally the company I grew up with in terms of gaming. Of course, I was more of a PlayStation kid, but I always had Nintendo. I've started NES quite with my parents pretty much. They put me onto the NES, N64, GameCube, Wii U, Switch, and then seeing how it's developed now to a point where they're just like, they're more of a game studio that just spits in the face of their fans because they know their fans are going to eat out of their hands no matter what. And it's really sad to see that, especially what they can do. They've shown they can create great stuff if they care and aren't absolute assholes. And I think this is also something I've noticed with Japanese companies. They have a very toxic means of doing business in regards with anybody. And it's really unfortunate, and I don't understand why. Maybe it's a cultural thing that I just can't understand, but at the end of the day, this was unnecessary. There was no reason to go after Gmod or any of the Steam Workshop make like designers. They are great designers and they know how to make content that people enjoy. And if anything, I think this is a genius opportunity. That would have been a genius opportunity for Nintendo to take up arms and be like, hey, okay, well, how about this? We make an official Steam Workshops pack that you guys can use with assets we want you to use. Wouldn't you think that's genius? People will be like, holy shit, Nintendo just partnered with Valve and Steam and Gary's Mod to release an official Steam Workshops pack full of Pokemon assets? That's sick. Do you know how cool that would be? That would break the internet. Even if it was free, it would bring so much publicity and so much revenue to Nintendo and other streams because people will be talking about you more. But no, they'd rather go the absolute toxic way through and make sure nobody can enjoy their content. Because, oh, you want to listen to Pokemon OSTs? Yeah, have the system that it was released on. Oh, wait, you want to listen to Leaf Green? Oh, well, you're going to need a Game Boy to listen to those. Do you understand? That I'm serious. This is how they do it. So if you want to listen to, legally at least, if you want to listen to Leaf Green, which is my favorite Pokemon title to ever be released, if you want to listen to the OSTs of this, you have to own a Game Boy. Or whatever title this was released on. And then play it through here. Because there's a music thing that you can get. Or like a music player in these games. That's how you listen to them legally. Because they try to take it off YouTube constantly. So yeah, that's genius. And then when you end support for these, how are people supposed to listen to it? Nintendo's a really backwards company, and the only reason they'll essentially succeed continuously as a company is because they've figured out a generational hook, or a generational anchor, I'd like to call it. And I was explaining this actually on stream not so long the other day on stream, how my parents grew up starting with Nintendo. Nintendo was the only thing there was to start with gaming. And then since that was a one and unique experience, like holy shit, this was gaming, and seeing their kids start to get into gaming, they show them also Nintendo products and also Nintendo games and Pokemon. Pokemon is also affected by this directly. Like, there is a one-to-one, like, the same way Nintendo can never die, Pokemon can't either, because of the same reason Nintendo is able to succeed. As your kids grow up, growing up with Nintendo, they'll tend to stray away from it, but seeing that when those kids who grew up, who were taught Nintendo by their parents, will do the same with their kids, because when they see that their kids are getting into gaming, they will show them, oh wait, I played Nintendo when I was a kid, here, check this out. And it creates a loop that essentially Nintendo can infinitely benefit off, because Nintendo has been essentially binded to your sense of childhood and nostalgia, and that's why it does so well. Of course, Nintendo has its charm. I can't say it doesn't. I understand Nintendo as a company is fairly good for early, gaming scenes. Like, I'd always enjoy Nintendo games regardless. This is like a really sour taste in my mouth, because it's like, how are you gonna do this to not only fans? I'm willing to put money that a lot of Gmod fans enjoy Nintendo content. I don't think that's insane to claim. So how are you going to do that to a fan base of yours that's just on a different game, still technically enjoying your content in a form that they still will consume what you put out? But you do this to them and it makes them feel betrayed. It's a really upsetting thing. Like, this is something I take very deep, because this is just more and more proof that Nintendo does not care about its fans, and has now learned that you guys will eat from their hands no matter what. Unfortunate circumstances, seeing how gaming studios are evolving nowadays. I think it's about time Nintendo maybe changes, or honestly just falters as a company. That's the only two routes that it can take that maybe will give me semblance of hope for this company. But yeah, besides that, I just want to talk about that. Deuces.